Sometimes life lets you down and you feel that you are done. You just want a morning run because the fun is all gone. But sometimes life makes you proud when you look far and wide, when you leave the pain behind and see the brighter side. TNC gives you inspiration. TNC reignites your passion. TNC starts your transformation. TNC helps you see the new you.
The new channel. The new channel. The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the new channel, here to help you see the new you. This is Attorney Carlo Ybañez live streaming from Parañaque City.
And this is Attorney Sheilla Santiago, streaming live from Alabang. Welcome to the second episode of YoLaw. Good evening, world. Thank you, family and friends, for staying with us again tonight.
Yawn, good evening, mundo. Kamusta kayo? Kamusta, Sheila? Good evening.
I'm good. Thanks, Carla.
Ayun, so second episode. Unang-una, pinapasalamatan ko ang lahat na nanood ng first episode. Sobrang daming nanood, more than almost 200 at one time. Tapos ang dami pang pumasok. In fact, na yata ngayon, parang 5,000 na yata yung views ngayon nung pilot episode natin.
Okay.
Ayun. So
shall we start?
Okay, sige. Sheila, simulan na natin. Ngayon,
Okay,
ang topic natin is annulment.
Yeah, medyo hugot muna tayo. Sandali.
Hugot.
Okay. At some point in our lives, we have dreamt of finding the one, that person whom you want to spend the rest of your life with. Most of us have been lucky to find the yin in our yang, the fire to our ice, the sunshine to our rain. But others just had to wait for another lifetime to find them. Well, for us who have found the one, we entered into marriage. We were hoping that our wedding would become the start of our happily ever after. But unfortunately, not everyone gets their happy ending, right? Some just had to end it to be happy. So we are here tonight to talk to you about how to end it right, the possibilities of ending it right. Because sometimes it's still better to get a lawyer to help you file a petition for annulment, then get a lawyer to defend you in a case of murder. So, how do we really end a marriage? Unfortunately, or some would say fortunately, we do not have divorce in the Philippines. You know why? Because the fundamental law of our land, our constitution itself, regards marriage as the foundation of our nation. Marriage is considered as an inviolable social institution because it's the foundation of the family. So the sanctity of marriage is protected by our very constitution. So, Carlo, how do we end marriage here in our country?
Ganito yan, no? Ang marriage sa Pilipinas, kailangan, para tapusin to, kailangan ng annulment. Pero, mag-iingat kayo ha pag kukuha kayo ng annulment. Kasi ganito yan, may storya lang ako. May isa akong kaibigan na abogado. Tinek siya ng isang girl, gusto ng annulment. Ang question sa kanya, attorney, pwede pa po magpa-annul? Pero ang spelling ng annul niya, A-N-A-L. Annul. So, so na-excite si attorney. Kaibigan kong attorney, na-excite siya. Tinawagan pa niya yung girl, baka nagkamali lang siya narinig. Ano po gusto nyo? Medyo slang pa yung girl, slang siya. Hi attorney, pwede magpa-annul? Magpa-annul daw. Si attorney naman tuwan-tuwa dahil magpapa-annul daw sa kanya. So yun, excited. So ingat kayo sa pagtatawag kayo sa abogado at magpapa-annul kayo ba kung anong mangyayari sa inyo. Di ba? Yun. Anyway, gaya nga ng sinabi ni Sheilla, ang constitution natin protects the sanctity of marriage. In fact, sa section 2 ng sa article 2 ng ating hindi article 2 to. Sa state policies on marriage, section 1, sabi niya, the state recognizes the family as the foundation of the nation. Accordingly, it shall strengthen its solidarity and actively promote its total development. Diba? Yan ang sabi niya. Sabi pa niya, marriage is an inviolable institution. It is the foundation of the family and shall be protected by the state. So, ang ibig niya lang sabihin, pag kinasal ka sa Pilipinas, dapat forever. So, divorce, Sheilla. Bakit ba tayo walang divorce dito sa Pilipinas?
Well, precisely what you have just mentioned, diba? We do not recognize divorce, and our legislations do not provide for divorce. What we have is annulment.
Oo. Pero naalala ko lang bigla. Merong parts ng Pilipinas natin na merong divorce, no? Ito yung mga kapatid nating Muslim. Covered sila kasi ng Sharia law. So meron silang divorce sa kanila. Sa kanila, ang tawag sa kanila, may tawag sa tala or something, na you have to say I divorce you 3 times. Tapos yon, divorce na kayo noon. Tapos may specific time pa yon kung kailan, parang dapat in between menstrual period ng mga female nila, no. So ganon. Kaya lang sa ating mga Kristiyano, since hindi naman tayo Muslim, we are covered by the Civil Code of the Philippines, which is wala ngang divorce sa atin. Diba? So, difference. Kasi yung dami nagtatanong ano daw ang difference ng divorce sa kanang annulment? Annulment. So, ano ba ang difference nila, Sheilla?
Well, actually, you can compare them first sa law. Divorce actually dissolves a marriage that was considered legal and valid. Pero sa annulment, there was no valid marriage to be considered in the first place. Parang sinasabi, from the start pa lang, wala na talaga yung marriage.
Yun ang main difference niya, no? Sa divorce, kasal kayo. Yeah. Tapos, pinutol nyo lang ang kasal. Pero sa marriage, sa annulment, talagang from the beginning, walang nangyaring kasal. Okay? Isa pa, pero pareho naman ang pareho naman ang effect niyan. Parehong nag-e-end ang marital relationship niyan. Pero meron difference sa children. Kasi sa divorce, since ang divorce nagkaroon ng valid marriage, yung mga children would become legitimate, di ba? Yes, ang legitimate children are those born inside a valid marriage. Ang ang annulment, since ano talaga, wala talagang nangyaring marriage. From the very start, walang marriage nangyari. Yung mga children, as a general rule, illegitimate siya. Pero, may exception dyan, di ba, Sheila? Ano ba yon?
Well, and when the marriage was declared under Article 36, psychological incapacity, the children will remain legitimate despite the annulment of the marriage.
Yun.
So depending on the ground, kasi syempre, iba't ibang grounds ang ginagamit natin for annulment.
Tapos, sa divorce, kung magkakaroon man ng divorce sa Pilipinas, it should be faster, no? Procedure. Sa ibang bansa, mabilis lang ang divorce, nagpipirmahan lang sila, divorce ka na. While sa annulment, very very tedious yung procedure. Yes. Kasi nga ayaw ng state na magkaroon ng severance yung marriage ties. So hangga't sa kaya, gusto niya magkasama yung husband and wife.
That's true.
Ano pa ang difference, Sheila?
Well, in terms of consent, sa divorce kasi parang if you both agree na we have so many irreconcilable differences, so I think we should just end this marriage. So you can just go file divorce against each other. In our country, dito sa annulment, hindi pwedeng by agreement. In fact, the state would have to see to it that there was no collusion between the parties. Na parang hindi nyo manufacture lang yung grounds para magkaroon ng annulment. Actually, the OSG, Office of the Solicitor General, parang sees to it na walang collusion between the parties through the Office of the City Prosecutor. So yun. In terms of consent, sa divorce, pwedeng by agreement. Sa annulment, hindi pwedeng by agreement.
Okay, meron lang nag-comment sa ano natin ngayon sa ating chat room, no? Hindi ko na siya papangalanan, hanapin nyo lang siya kasi may lawyer-client privilege yata dito. Wag na nga, baka ma-violate ko lawyer-client privilege. Meron lang kasi isang kliyente ako. Okay, may isang kliyente ako na divorce sa states, kinuha yung divorce. Ngayon, pinapa-recognize dito yung divorce. Ang sabi nitong isang kliyente kong to, dito sa Pilipinas, mabagal rin daw ang divorce. Pero kasi nga, walang divorce sa Pilipinas. Ang procedure natin is recognition of a foreign judgment, which is a court procedure. No? Mamaya explain namin yan sa'yo, kaya mabagal yan. Okay. In fact, dapat nga, pag meron divorce dito sa Pilipinas, dapat may difference rin sa cost, no? Kasi ang divorce, madali lang dapat, no? So dapat hindi siya kasing mahal ng annulment. Pero I'm sure, pag nagkaroon ng divorce sa Pilipinas, tayong mga abogado, we will find ways para taasan pa rin ang singil natin. Diba? Anyway.
Actually, okay. I don't handle annulment. Well, I've handled several, pero for my friends, kasi friends ko sila. Pero, personally, medyo hindi ko gusto ang annulment. I don't know why. It's just personal conviction.
Hindi mo.
And you know what? Just let me tell you this. Because umupo ako of course, when nag-annulment case ako, di ba? So, sa family court, di ba? So, from 8 a.m. to 12 noon, pare-pareho lahat, minsan puro lahat annulment cases yun. Tapos umupo yung psychologist, yung expert witness. And then they would talk about grounds na sobrang petty. So, parang, alam mo, diba? Parang kung nagpapa-annul ka based on that ground, lahat ng, siguro 90% of the marriages in this country should be annulled. So, I think, I believe that only those who have valid grounds talaga na totoo ang ma-annul. Well, that's just my personal conviction.
Ano bang grounds yan? Sinabihan siya ng mataba, nagpapa-annul na, ganon?
Parang yung major grounds nasa 2 article lang yan, di ba, Carlo?
Okay, sige. So, ano ba ang grounds for declaration of nullity of marriage? Okay, ang complete name ng action na ipa-file nyo is declaration of nullity of marriage. Tinatawag nating annulment yan kasi masyadong mahaba. So, annulment na lang. If slang kayo, annulment. Diba? Okay. So, meron tayong grounds para i-declare na void ang marriage. Ano ba tong grounds na to, Sheila?
Well, first, you have to talk about nandun sa under Article 35. Ito naman kasi medyo mahirap yan kasi bihira itong ginagamit kasi
correct.
Medyo basic to eh. So first, di ba, kung underage ka, Although I know someone na pwedeng ma-annul kasi pinifake nila yung edad nila. You know how? Kasi before, di ba, para makakuha tayo ng driver's license, ginagawa, dati kasi 17, pwede ka na eh. Something like that. So parang pinapalit na nila yung age nila. Kunyari 17, kunyari 18 sila pero 17 lang pala. So if you're below 18, kahit pa may consent ng magulang nyo o ng buong barangay nyo, hindi pwede yun. So that's...
So Sheila, kung 5 years old ka, hindi ka pwedeng pakasal?
Okay.
Paano pag binigyan ka ng consent ng magulang mo magpakasal at 5 years old?
Kahit pa.
Pwede. Okay. Sayang. Kasi nung 5 years old ako, gusto ko na pakasal.
Sinong gusto mo pakasalan ng 5 years old ka?
Secret. Okay. Second ground. Ano pang second ground? So, first ground is underage. Anong legal age natin? It's 18. 18 ang legal age natin. So, if below 18 ka, kung 17 years old and 365 years old ka, hindi ka pwedeng ikasal. Okay? Kahit papayagan ka ng magulang mo. Okay. Second ground is lack of authority of solemnizing officer. Ibig sabihin, ang solemnizing officer, yan yung officer o yun yung tao na nagkakasal sa inyo. Pwede siyang, usually sa atin, pare, di ba? Pero pwede rin namang mayor, pwede rin naman judge, di ba? May mga nagpapakasal rin sa judge. So, lack of authority. Wala siyang authority. Di ba, pare, hindi pala siya pare. Madre pala siya, di ba? Tapos kinasal niya kayo, madre pala siya. Void yung marriage. Yan. Pero may exception yan. Unless such marriage was contracted when either or both parties believed in good faith that the solemnizing officer had authority. So, akala nung nagpakasal, may authority yung nag-solemnize sa'yo. So, kunwari, madre pala, akala nyo pare, kasi mukha siyang lalaki, edi, kung pareho kayo, talagang bilib na bilib kayo na pari talaga siya, no? Kahit mukha siya, kasi mukha siyang lalaki pero naka-hobbit, no? Pero naniwala kayo na pare, valid yung marriage nyo. Next ground, Next ground.
Walang marriage license. I think basic naman yun eh. Parang lahat na yung gusto magpakasal, kailangan mo nang kumuha ng marriage license. I don't know how they're able to contract marriage without a marriage license. But if you do not have a marriage license in the first place, you're not supposed to, enter into the contract of marriage.
Correct. Ano pang sunod?
Well, yung nakakabwisit, bigamous and polygamous marriages.
Bigamous
I don't know how they can get away with it.
Bigamy. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng bigamy?
Well, kung bigamy, may asawa ka na before, you're still legally married when you contracted the subsequent marriage. Diba? Mas masama pa yung polygamous marriages ang dami na. Alam mo, puro mga lalaki ang guilty dyan.
Nako, hindi naman. May mga babae dyang nagpapakasal ulit
Well, based on the decisions of Supreme Court, karamihan puro mga husband yung guilty ng bigamous na polygamous marriages. So,
okay, bigamy. Akala ko, bigamy, yan yung in Tagalog, malaki ako, bigamy. Ang opposite niya, smallamy. May kantang Foo Fighters yan actually, bigamy. Diba? Sina Gian, alam niya yung kantang bigamy. Okay. Ito. Trivia. Totoo to, seryoso to. What is the difference of bigamy and polygamy? Okay, bigamy, weird to. Bigamy is, not known. Kumbaga tinatago siya and hindi siya accepted. While polygamy is a culture na accepted yung multiple marriages. Like sa mga Muslims natin. So they're practicing polygamy. No? Bigamy, they're not practicing bigamy because bigamy in itself is inherently illegal. Pag polygamy, accepted as cultural. Okay? Ang weird lang siya kasi bawal daw sa atin yung polygamous marriage, sabi. Pero, well, since Christian talaga tayo and sa law natin bawal, well, I think hindi talaga accepted ang polygamy but it should have been termed bigamy. Anyway, ganun yon. Okay. What is next ground for nullity of marriage, Sheila?
Pero Carlo, may question lang ako. Hindi ba sumasakit ng ulo mo sa isang asawa? Gusto mo pa na mas madami? Hindi ba masakit na yung ulo mo sa isa pa lang? Gusto mo pa mas madami?
tanong natin kay Alvin yan. Alvin, masakit na ba ulo mo sa isang asawa?
Ay, hindi. No, masaya siya.
Ayun.
Anyway, the next is mistaking the identity of the other party.
Yun.
Ewan mo paano nangyayari yan, diba?
Hindi, ganito yan. Kasi usually, ang akala ng mga tao, mistake in identity, ito yung drama yung iba ka na, hindi ikaw ang taong pinakasalan ko. Kasi mabait ka yung una, di ba? Mistake in identity daw. Pero hindi yon. Mistake in identity, ibang tao. Akala mo, ibang tao. So, nangyayari to, and I think posible lang na mangyari to pag may twins, di ba?
Yes,
meron pa bang ibang,
it's the only exception. Yeah.
Meron pa bang ibang pwedeng mangyari na akala mo ang pinapakasalan mo ay si Mr. A, yung pala si Mr. B pala, di ba? Unless sobrang magkamukha sila. In fact, nabalitaan ko si Colleen Garcia daw magpapa-anal daw kay Billy Joe Crawford. Kasi ang akala daw niya, ang pinapakasalan niya si Carlo Ybañez.
wait. May kwenta ako tungkol dyan.
Oh, yes.
Kasi yung friend ko before, si Attorney G. Galenosa, I invited her to join Ayala Alabang Camera Club. So I think she joined for a few months. Tapos sabi niya, alam mo Mare, may nag-a-add sa akin taga Ayala Alabang Camera Club. Hindi ko ina-add kasi yung picture niya si Billy Joe Crawford. Hindi, totoo yan. As in, totoo. Parang, alam ka na, si Carlo yun.
See? Pwede ngang magpa-anal in mistake of identity. Pero, ang asawa ko hindi magpapa-anal kasi ang alam niya talaga, ako pinakasalan niya. Si Colleen Garcia, baka pwede magpa-anal kasi akala niya ako pinapakasalan niya.
Okay, sige.
Okay. Last is subsequent marriages under Article 53 which did not comply with the recording in the civil registry. Medyo complicated to. Ikaw na nga mag-explain, Sheila.
Simple lang kasi yan. Di ba? Pag na-annul na yung marriage nyo, so, of course, what do you need to do when you receive the order of annulment? Oh my God.
Celebrate.
Diba? Celebrate and rejoice. So sometimes you forget everything. You thought it's all over. I'm gonna marry the one I'm with now. But what you're supposed to do is ask your lawyer to have it recorded in the civil registry where it's supposed to be recorded. Anong kailangan na record sa civil registry? The order of annulment, na-annul na yung marriage nyo, and then the partition and distribution of property. Because in the order of annulment, nakalagay na doon how you will distribute your property, how you're gonna go about the property relations between the spouses, and then the delivery of the children's presumptive legitim. Yung presumptive legitims, yung ano yung dapat manahin ng mga anak. Kasi syempre, pag na-annul na yung marriage nyo, there's a possibility that you will go into another marriage and para hindi na magkaroon ng pagkahalo ng property relations from the first marriage or the second marriage. Ngayon, if you did not record that and then you enter into another marriage, of course, by record, hindi pa naka-record na annulled na yung first marriage mo. So, pwede pang ma-void yung second marriage mo. Yun lang yung sinasabi dyan.
Yes, so ganun yun. So pag na-annul, dapat huwag muna mag-celebrate. Trabaho muna ulit, no?
Correct.
Okay, excuse me. So that's Article 35. Sabi nga ni Sheila, bihira to gamitin kasi it's either you have this ground or you don't, di ba? Either a mistaken identity, either bata ka kinasal, either you have it or you don't. So hindi ka talaga pwedeng makipaghiwalay lang out of the blue because of Article 35. So anong gagawin mo kung wala yung grounds mo sa Article 35? That's where Article 36 comes in. Article 36 ng Family Code. Ano tong Article 36, Sheila?
Well, ito yung palaging ginagamit na ground. Sobrang gasgas na. At yun lang yata ang pwedeng gamitin na ground natin, which is psychological incapacity.
Yun. Psychological incapacity. So what is psychological incapacity?
Well, actually, in essence, it's the mental inability of someone to perform the essential requisites of marriage or the basic marital obligations. And it has to be a disorder. It has to be an incapacity that existed even before the celebration of the marriage. Although, kahit nag-manifest na siya during the marriage, pero dapat at the start of the marriage, even before you contracted marriage, nandun na yun, di ba? And it should not be something that the spouse just refuse to perform or neglects to perform. It has to be something. It has to be a clinical finding that there is that there was a disorder or mental incapacity, and it has to be proven by a medical expert, and it has to be clinically incurable or permanent. So medyo mahirap yun. Pero
Medyo
nagagawa.
technical siya.
Yeah.
Oo. Ang kalimitan tinatanong sa akin ng mga clients ko, ganito, attorney, pag sinabi bang psychological incapacity, ibig sabihin siraulo na yung asawa ko or may tama na siya sa utak? Well, hindi ganon. Actually, psychological incapacity, it's just a short term. Ang buong term nito is psychological incapacity to perform the basic marital obligation. So, hindi ka lang dapat may psychological incapacity. Kailangan ang psychological incapacity mo is to perform the marital obligations. Hindi nagagawa or hindi napaprocess ng utak mo yung basic marital obligations. So, para malaman natin kung may psychological incapacity, you have to know, ano ba itong basic marital obligations na to na hindi kayang i-process ng utak ng asawa ko. So, ano yan, Sheilla, yung mga basic marital obligations na yan?
Well, of course, cohabitation. You have to live together.
Correct. Duty pala yun, no? Na you have to live together.
Duty yun. And you have to give mutual love, respect, and fidelity. Mutual help and support. Diba? So,
mutual love and respect, ang ganda pakinggan, no? So, dapat nire-respeto mo yung asawa mo. Pag hindi mo nire-respeto, pwedeng ground for annulment, di ba?
Correct.
Okay. What's next?
Well, the husband and wife should fix the family domicile, which means you should have at least your own home. Kasi may mga, alam mo, may mga, marami ng case na ganun, mga mama's boy, ayaw umalis sa bahay ng parents nila. Because they want to stay with, so doon nagkakaroon ng problema. Well, yun.
So, yun.
Diba? That's just one of the example.
Correct. So, duty pala yun, no? Kailangan meron kayong, kumbaga, konting independence as husband and wife, no?
Correct. Yeah, no matter how small, even if rental or what, you should have your own place as, as a family, as husband and wife.
Okay. Tapos sunod is that the spouses are jointly responsible for the support of the family. Yan, kailangan gumagastos kayo para sa pamilya. At hindi lang yung support na to, I don't think it's just financial support eh. Pati syempre emotional support, yung sinusuportahan niyo yung kapamilya niyo or husband and wife niyo para masuportahan sila. Diba? Ang next is the management of the household. Kailangan tumutulong kayo pareho, ang mag-asawa, tumutulong sa management of the household. Yung mga chores, yung ganyan, yung pag may sira, ganyan. Kung ang isa lang, kunwari, yung pinapabayaan mo lang ang asawa mo, gumawa lahat, ikaw nakaupo ka lang sa isang tabi, hindi ka nagtatrabaho. Yan, ground for annulment yan. So dapat, management of the household, parehong husband and wife. Duty yan under the batas natin. Okay? Ano pa, Sheilla?
Well, kailangan you should exercise parental or authority over your children, and you have duties as parents.
Yes.
You see, it's not easy to become parents, but akala nyo, lang yun madali lang yan. Pero under the law, you have duties that you need to perform. Like, to be present in their lives, to support them, to educate them, to instruct them, to have moral ascendancy, to be good examples as parents, to provide them with not just moral but spiritual guidance, to teach them honesty, integrity, self-discipline, and self-reliance. To provide them with wholesome activities, recreation, association, and to prevent them from acquiring detrimental habits. To also demand from them, to teach them actually, you don't demand, you teach them respect and obedience. It's not something that you can demand. As parents, we have to show them. We have to show them how it is done. We don't just demand them. We have to show them so they would know what it is. So they would see that we deserve respect and obedience and discipline, of course, as a parent. So yun. Maraming duties, pero akala nyo duties lang yun, pero under the law, kailangan yung gawin yun. Yun, dami, no?
In fact, mahaba yung listahan niya. Sobrang haba ang listahan ng duties
Halos nasabi ko lahat
with
yan.
respect to the children. Oo, nasabi mo lahat eh. Bilis nga eh. Anyway, yan. Ibig nga sabihin yan, pag hindi nyo ginawa to, hindi nyo ginawa yung mga duties nyo sa inyong mga anak, ground for annulment. Yan. Okay? Okay, so yan yung mga duties na kailangan gawin nyo. And if meron kayong psychological incapacity, meron kayong psychological defect, yun nga, in layman's terms, hindi na pa-process ng utak nyo, hindi kayang gampanan ng utak nyo kahit anong gawin. Itong mga in-enumerate naming duties, ground for annulment. Yan. Okay? Pero, ang annulment, medyo tedious procedure yan. Madaming kailangang requirements para ma-annul or ma-annul. Kasi nga, sabi ng Supreme Court, sabi ng batas natin, ng Constitution, walang divorce. Dapat forever pagkasal. So, papahirapan talaga kayo para makawala sa kasal. So, ano tong requirements natin sa psychological incapacity? Ito, didiscuss natin yung tinatawag namin sa batas na Molina Doctrine. Kasi, yun yung kaso kung sa diniscuss ng Supreme Court. So, may requirements. Okay, what are the requirements? My friend, Sheila.
Well, of course, the burden of proof is always upon the plaintiff. The one who filed the petition for annulment should show that there exists a valid ground for annulment. And then that the root cause of the psychological incapacity has been medically identified, which means there has been a psychological evaluation by an expert that there exists a psychological incapacity on the offending spouse. And it has to be sufficiently alleged in the complaint and, of course, proved during the trial.
Okay.
And one thing that's very important also, it must be existing at the time of the celebration of the marriage. You know, that's a tricky part Kasi sometimes they were able to prove, the psychologists, napuprove nila na bata pa pala nag-exist na yon. Pero when you enter into a marriage with that person, hindi mo naman nakikita yon kasi they would manifest, minsan nagpa-manifest siya like 5 years into marriage, diba? So parang...
Ganito lang yan, Sheila. Kasi, ganito lang yan. Kasi nga, sabi ni Sheila, the psychological incapacities should exist even before the marriage,
yes.
Even if it manifested after. So, may mga maliliit na signs yan. Maliliit pa lang yan, palaki ng palaki yan pagka-marriage. So, kunwari...
Minsan walang sign.
Kunwari, ang ayaw mo sa asawa mo, masyado siyang pintasero, no? Pinagsasabihan ka palagi, ang taba-taba mo, pagising pa lang, ang taba mo na, porky pig pa ang tawag sa'yo, no? Dapat existing na yon before the marriage. Kahit maliit pa lang sign. So, before the marriage, kung ang tawag niya sa'yo, biik pa lang, hindi pa baboy, yan, sign na yan of psychological incapacity. Medyo small signs. Yan ang hahanapin nyo sa psychological incapacity. Okay?
Okay.
Diba? Sabi ni Sheila, it has to be existing before the marriage. So, aside from that, it has to be shown medically or clinically permanent or incurable. Permanent, talagang nandyan na, incurable, hindi ma-cure, kahit anong gawin mo. So dun sa asawa mo na pinagsasabihan kang palaging mataba, nagpapayat ka na, 90 pounds ka na, ang tingin pa rin sa'yo mataba. Ang tawag niya sa'yo ngayon, lean pork, hindi na baboy, di ba? Ganun pa rin. Okay. Ano pa ang ating requirements, Sheila?
Well, it has to be, I think I've said that, it has to be permanently incurable. I mean, there's no way that it can be cured. So there's no possibility that that offending spouse will be able to perform the essential requisites of marriage. So why continue?
Okay. Sheila, sinasabihan tayo, kailangan daw natin mag-break for a few minutes.
Okay, sorry.
Sige, magbe-break kami. Sorry po, napaano kami.
We'll be back. And then, siguro mga 2 minutes na lang and then questions na.
Okay. See you later.
So we go away.
We are back. Okay, so we are discussing the requirements for annulment. Sabi nga, kailangan siyang may root cause, kailangan siyang grave and incurable, kailangan existing even before the marriage. Okay, what's next?
Yes. Well, that kind of incapacity or inability must be so grave that the offending spouse should not be able to perform the essential requisites of marriage.
Yun na yung diniscuss namin kanina, yung mga basic marital obligations, kailangan yun nakasabi sa batas, yung enumerate naming mahaba kanina. Kailangan isa doon, yung love and respect, ganyan.
Yeah.
Noon. Okay. Tapos, yung iba, it's more of the court guidelines to the court, diba? Kailangan yung Catholic Church na recommendation should be taken into consideration. Kailangan yung Solicitor General nandyan rin. Saka, kailangan i-discuss yung cause sa decision. But basically, yun ang ating requirements for annulment para mag-proceed ng inyong annulment. Kung hindi kayo makakapag-annul. Okay. So, question and answer na.
Yeah.
Question and answer na tayo. Medyo madami. Meron niyang text na sa akin kaninang umaga pa lang ng mga tanong tungkol sa annulment.
Okay.
Kung manood sila bago ko sagutin. Pero wait, meron daw sa studio, question na pinasok sa studio natin. Ipa-flash daw ng ating studio people yung question.
Okay.
Sige, paki-flash po yung sinasabi kanina na tanong.
Para masagot ni Carlo. Okay. Ayan ba yun?
Hindi ko mabasa eh. Masyadong maliit ang
Question, attorney. Kung willing mag-sign sa annulment yung husband, mabilis na ba yun na ma-annul?
Ano daw?
Kung willing daw bang mag-sign sa annulment yung husband, mabilis na bang ma-annul?
Sige, kaya mong sagutin yan, Sheila.
Sige, sagutin mo na, Carlo.
Ako na, okay.
As in ba? Hindi, actually, this is what we were telling you a while ago pa. Diba? Parang annulment cannot be done by agreement between the parties. Actually, from the time you file the annulment, may 6 months cooling period pa yun eh. Bibigyan pa kayo ng pagkakataon na ayusin nyo. And then afterwards, mag-iimbestiga pa yung prosecutor na wala talagang agreement between the parties. Kasi nga, you see, it's the policy of the state to protect the sanctity of marriage. So you cannot just agree to annul your marriage. There has to be a valid ground. And usually, annulment is an adversarial case. You can't just, agree to annul the marriage, unlike divorce. So, hindi pwede yun. Next.
Correct. Tama po yun. Okay. So, next question. So, yun, naintindihan na, hindi pwedeng mag-agree sa annulment. Hindi pwedeng pag-usapan lang yan. Okay. Mga tanong. Ito, kanina, may tinext sa atin nag-text sa akin ng tanong si Attorney Ryan Conde. Feeling ko, kliyente niya to na tinatamad lang siya mag-research kaya tinatanong sa akin. Ito first question. Okay. Carlo, itatanong ko para sa show mo. Na-deny yung annulment, pero nag-grant ang separation of properties. Pag ganun ba, heir pa rin ng spouse yung other spouse? Pag namatay ba yung isang spouse, magsasucceed pa rin ba yung isa kahit may order of separation of properties na? Okay, gusto mo sagutin, Sheila?
Ikaw, ayaw mo sagutin yan, sasagutin ko. Kaibigan mo yan. Depends on you.
Ako na muna, okay. So, ganito yan. Well, unang-una, merong mga gaps sa sinendya. Hindi ko alam kung bakit na-grant yung separation of properties, pero yung annulment, hindi. Well, unang-una, kung ang annulment ay hindi na-grant, ang punot dulo niyan, mag-asawa pa rin kayo kahit anong nangyari. Denied nga eh. Kasi nga, ang batas natin or ang constitution natin, hindi ina-allow ang pag-divorce or pinapahirapan maghiwalay ang mag-asawa. So, pwede talagang ma-deny. So, ibig sabihin, pag nag-deny, mag-asawa pa rin kayo. Eh, ano ang isang consequence ng marriage? You inherit from each other. So, yes, ano pa rin kayo? You inherit from each other. Pero iniisip ko lang kasi, annulment, tapos nag-grant separation of properties, hindi ka legal separation ang sinasabi. Kasi legal separation, kung legal separation naman to, which is another form of proceedings, you cannot inherit from each other. Ganun yun. Pero, dahil masyadong vague ang question mo, yun, ganun yung sagot. Ganun yung sagot. Alright.
May question sa akin, Carlo. Pinapatanong, kailangan daw tanungin ko sa show natin.
Okay.
Medyo nakakahiya, pero kasi hindi niya ako papatawarin pag di ko raw sinabi to. Mga ilang years ba dapat na wala kayong sex para maging ground yun for annulment?
Magandang tanong yan. Okay. Para masagot natin yung tanong yan, ito ang isa sa paborito kong kaso. Yung si Chiming Choi na kaso. Si Chiming Choi, ano siya, isang Chinese national siya na hindi siya nakipag-sex sa asawa niya for 1 year. Sabi ng Supreme Court, it's a ground for annulment. Kasi maganda yung sinabi ng Supreme Court dyan. Sabi niya parang sexual intimacy is the foundation of marriage. Parang ganun yung sinabi ng Supreme Court niya. Ayan. So, I would say, mga 1 year or a little over 1 year pwede natin gamitin. Safe tayo dyan. Kasi nga, yung kaso ni Joy. Right?
Right. So you're saying...
Yes?
You're saying that, of course, sexual intimacy is an essential requisite of marriage that, has to be fulfilled. It is an obligation under the law. Right? Tama ba?
Kung nagsabi niya na kailangan makipag-sex kayo sa asawa niyo. Kailangan may sexy time ang mag-asawa. Diba? May isang tingin ko typographical error to sa kaso ni Chiming Choi. Kasi sabi sa kaso ni Chiming Choi, during siesta time, the respondent went walking during siesta time. Pero palay ko typo yun. Ibig sabihin yata ng Supreme Court, sexy time. So during sexy time, the defendant went walking. Yun ang gusto sabihin. Okay. Teka, may tanong pa si Attorney Ryan Conde dito.
Kanina pa tanong yan si Attorney Ryan.
Oo nga Ryan talaga, Okay.
Alam mo, dapat kasosyo tayo sa legal fees niyan.
Oo, may share tayo sa legal fees. Na-divorce sa US. Nagpa-annul dito. Di ko alam kung bakit. Basta, may proceedings for annulment. Nag-asawa yung wife. Okay? While pending, namatay yung husband. Di pa na-annul. Ngayon, naghahabol yung wife pa rin. Heir pa rin ba siya? Ganun pa rin. Sabi ko kay Attorney Conde, dapat siguro ibang topic yan, sa succession siguro yan. Pero may pa rin naman, may annulment. Okay. General rule. Makinig ka, GN season, ito ang general rule. General rule is walang divorce. However, if your foreign husband or foreign spouse had a divorce in another country, and divorce is allowed under the laws of that country, recognize yung divorce. To recognize yun. Ngayon, yan ang ating basic presumption natin. Dito sa tanong ngayon na to, ang sagot dyan, depende. Foreigner ba yung asawa? US citizen ba yung asawa? Kasi sa States daw. Kung US citizen, tapos nagpa-divorce siya, the general rule is the status of the person is governed by his citizenship. So, yung status niya, kung single or married siya, is recognized by the laws of the United States. Pwede divorce doon. So, sa mata ng United States, hindi na sila mag-asawa. Okay? That is, so, kung hindi mag-asawa, hindi na pwede mag-succeed. However, kung Filipino citizen naman yon, kung nagpa-divorce sa abroad, sa States recognized yun. Pero sa Pilipinas, hindi recognized yun. So mag-asawa pa rin sila sa Pilipinas. Ibig sabihin, pwede pa rin sila mag-succeed with other. Okay?
Meron din napapatanong sa akin. Sobrang kailangan sagutin ko na ito. Sagutin mo na lang. Homosexuality. Paano kung bakla yung yung asawa niya, tapos talagang bakla. Hindi ayaw na siya. Kasi, syempre, the sexual preference is not with a woman, but with another man. So, is it a ground for annulment? I wanted to answer that because medyo ayoko kasi may personal.
Ako sasagot?
Ikaw na sumagot para hindi naman sabihin unfair.
Okay. Here's my take on this. And sa akin, para sa akin, homosexuality is not a psychological defect. Diba? Hindi siya psychological defect. In fact, hindi ko makikita sa psychological books kasi psychology po ako yung college. I'm a psychology. So, hindi ko siya under a psychological defect. So, as itself, kung yun lang ang ground mo for annulment, hindi siya ground. However, if it manifests as a psychological incapacity, kumari, dahil bading yung asawa mo hindi na nakikipag-sex sa'yo, o dahil bading yung asawa mo hindi ka na mahal, dahil bading hindi na nakikipag-give-in sa'yo, di ba? May violation na ng marital relation. Hindi dahil bading siya, pero dahil hindi na ginagampanan ng marital relation. So, with that, pwede siyang annul.
Exactly. Agree. Okay, at least sa'yo nang galing Hindi sa akin. Kasi ako din bias kasi kaibigan ako. Anyway. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Next question. May question pa ba? Nasaan pa yung mga questions mo?
Ano pa tayo? Natatabunan yan, mga pa eh. Anyway, takto lang kasi kailangan rin natin pala mag-break. Habang mag-break tayo, hanap tayo ng mga tanong na yun.
Kailangan mag-break. Okay, sige. Go on a break. Please.
Alright.
Thanks.
Okay, may babasahin lang akong comment Hindi sa akin ang galing ko. Babasahin yung galing ko sa isang nanonood sa akin. Ang sabi niya, homosexuality daw ground for annulment. Pero hindi A-N-N-U-L, A-N-U-L, annulment. Grabe, ang sama. Ano ba yun?
Okay, sige.
Okay, may question dito. Sexual, erectile dysfunction ba daw is a ground for annulment? Anong sagot?
Well, erectile dysfunction could lead to your incapacity to perform the essential requisites of marriage because sexual intimacy is definitely one of the essential requisites of marriage. So if you have that, then you wouldn't be able to perform the essential requisites of marriage. Technically, but there are other means of, intimacy. Kung mahal mo naman yung tao, parang why would you need to file a case just because of that? There are other needs. Just me saying. But technically. Diba?
So, mag-ano lang ako, can I use this time para mag-plug ng isang importante announcement?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Tomorrow, or actually hindi na tomorrow, mamaya na, 12 midnight tonight, maglalabas po ng bagong kanta ang Ayyyyy. Maglalabas ng bagong kanta ang Ayyyyy. Ang title nito is Peace Riot. So, available siya sa Spotify, sa iTunes, sa Amazon Music, sa lahat ng mga digital stores. It's under Viva Records, Peace Riot po. Ito po yung banda ko, Ybañez. Sana po pakinggan natin. So, thank you. Ikaw ba, may gusto kang i-plug sila?
No, I just want to thank everyone who's here tonight, who's supporting us, my family and my friends from all over the world, Australia, the US, Sweden, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Malaysia, everywhere. In the Philippines, Leyte, Cebu, Zamboanga, and dami. But yeah, thank you so much for being here.
So, shout out lang tayo. Shout out sa mga kabanda ko. Tapos, ating friends from Ayala Alamancara.
And Carlo, I need to sorry. I have to I just want to promote again Streets to School. Yun yung pinopromote ko last episode pa. Diba? So they have a Facebook page, Streets to School. We can donate. It's actually initiated by one of my friends. Yung friend ko napakabata, parang teenager pa siya, pero sobrang galing niya. She initiated this to help mga children sa online learning na wala namang means, diba? So, yun. They have a Facebook page. Please check and please help in whatever way you can. John Grande, I'm so proud of you.
Sheila, meron daw question sa screen, hindi ko mapasa kasi malayo ako sa monitor.
Okay. Question?
Question daw sa screen.
Okay, tinatanong ni Tony D, paano daw pag wanted yung asawa? Okay. Wanted yung asawa, di ba? So, hindi ba dapat suportahan mo yung asawa mo? Wanted nga eh. Kung hindi naman guilty yun, patunayan mo na hindi guilty. Tapos magpapa-annul ka na kagad.
Siguro yan? Kasi, siguro nagtatago yung asawa, so hindi niya ma-perform yung basic marital obligations. And then, again, it goes down to that, whether or not you perform the basic marital obligations.
Yeah.
So, nagtatago yung asawa dahil wanted, so hindi na siya nasusuportahan. Hindi na siya namamahal ng asawa niya, di ba? So, down ka rin for now.
Well, eto pa.
Ayan sa screen. Ano yung sabi sa screen?
Nawala eh. Attorney, what if yung husband ay nananakit? Pinagsasalitaan siya ng malalaswang salita. Pinagdadamot ang mga anak at sinasabihan na papatayin sila. Tapos inuobliga yung babae na mag-support sa kanila. Kaso lang wala na trabaho kasi dating OFW. Pinipilit pang makisipi sa kanya kahit ayaw na. Tapos pag humingi ng pera yung babae, sasabihan ng lalaki, gimitin niya muna yung babae, tapos binayaran ng 1,000, may mga blotter sa police kasama na ba sa ground yan. Alam mo, napaka-complicated. Masyadong marami involved sa facts. Well, what I can say is each marriage, each ground is unique. And if you feel that you really need to get out of it because you have a valid ground, then get a lawyer. We can give you basic answers, but this will not solve your problem. If this is something like this, what you have just said in your question, then I suggest you get a lawyer.
In other words, PM nyo lang po.
Ano yan?
PM nyo lang ako, in other words.
PM nyo lang si Carlo. Yeah. Okay.
My firm is the law firm called Chavez Miranda.
Correct.
Handle annulment cases.
Okay, ito Carlo, kaya mo sagutin to. Paano daw ba kung hindi na nagsama or nagkita from like 15 to 20 years? Meron na sa batas yan. Sagutin mo na yan. 15 to 20 years, hindi kayo nagkita?
Obvious naman. 15 to 20 years na hindi na nagkita, wala na talaga. In fact, pwede na siya yung tinatawag natin na presumptive death. Kung meron talaga, presumptive death. So, yung circumstances, na-absolute mo patay na yung asawa mo. Kasi hindi na ka nagpapakita mo. Alam, patay na yan. Or sana patay na yan.
Kung ganun katagal na I think that's what he wants you to believe, diba? So there's a process for that. Yeah, it's not annulment, it's not under annulment, but there is definitely a process for that. And you just get a lawyer and just file it. Okay. Kung 20 years ago po na di sila nagsasama, sure ba na maalala ang marriage? Alam mo, yung hindi nyo pagsasama, 20 years na, so hindi nyo na-perform yung essential requisites of marriage, diba? 20 years sila hindi nagsasama, cohabitation is an essential requisite of marriage. And sexual intimacy. So those are valid grounds. So you can file for it already. But it's not automatic. You need to file for annulment.
Correct. Tama po yung sinasabi ni Sheilla, sa ating pong batas, sa ating court system, wala po yung no? Hindi po tayo sure. Kahit po napakalakas ng wala po yung kasi sinasabi ko nga pag sa lahat ng mga kliyente ko, every time we go to court, we have to think that 100 things hindi nyo malalaman kung anong pwedeng mangyari mali, anong pwedeng, what may go wrong, maraming pwedeng mangyari mali. So wala akong talagang sigurado. Ang masasabi lang namin, whether malakas o natingin naman namin, malakas naman talaga kung
Okay. Paano kung nag-file ang husband ng annulment pero hindi pinansin ng wife ang kaso? Di ba binibigyan naman ng notices dun sa given address nila? For as long as you can prove that they received the notices and they did not, parang reply or they neglect to show. Kasi may notices yun ng court. So, makikita naman sa return yun di ba, ng mga order.
Dito sa kanang irrelevant po ang in-laws ng husband. Wala akong pakialam ang court sa husband or wife o walang pakialam ang court sa husband or wife. Basta may grounds kayo din po.
Okay. So I think, Carlo, we have less than a minute to wrap this up. So wala na lang yung time.
Unang-una gusto ko lang ulit pagpili ng aking wife. Yung isa ngayon, hindi ka tulad last.
Okay. So I hope you join us again. So next episode on Monday, 8:30, same time, 9:30. And I hope you take time to watch the other shows in PNC, the new channel. We have great shows and you can watch them every day for the rest of the week. Thank you so much for watching YoLaw tonight. And please join us again next time.
All right. See you. Good night.
Good night.